You know what I like to do?
Talk into a microphone?
Yeah, and also get in on the action with sports
Have a big
interaction.
head.
Yeah. Wear bare feet in the freezing cold.
Be a dad.
Friggin' wear V-necks that are actually
It's not a
crew-necks.
V-neck, okay?
Sorry.
Sports interaction. NHL, NBA, MLB, so much more. It's the friend I don't have, clearly. Crazy Odds, best live and play. Download the app in Ontario. You can use the QR code at the bottom of the screen, or you can head to sportsinteraction.com/STPN to get started. 19 plus. Please play responsibly and get better friends.
Yell at the computer. He does that too.
The fucking Boston Bruins are out, baby!
I'm stunned.
It was not only like, listen, it's a game 7, anything can happen, but the way they went out, they came back from a 2-0 thing to be up 3-2 on a nothing shot that got by Bobrovsky.
We were talking about it downstairs. I'm like, the second that goal went in, I'm like, oh, they're dead. The Panthers are dead.
I just want to know, what happened, Boston? Huh? Red Sox suck? Patriots not looking good in the future. Boston blowing 3-1 leads.
And the Celtics.
Celtics are really good.
They're
They
big.
they have a legit chance to win the NBA championship, but you lost it last year. Steph Curry danced on you, huh?
Imagine Boston only getting one championship in a year.
Yeah. Everything is coming up Toronto.
That's right.
Let's go.
That's right. So it was sort of surprising, and I think we're gonna this thing is just a reaction to the Bruins losing. So let's start with the beginning, which is the game was going really well for Florida right off the top.
You know, it's funny. In these scenarios, we always got to pick. In 2019, we had to pick. Mm-hmm. Did the Blue Jackets do a really amazing thing, or did Tampa just choke?
Mm-hmm. So what do you think?
I think a little of column A, a little of column B. I don't think the Florida Panthers are going to get outworked by anybody.
Right.
I mean, they were incredibly hardworking. They were just violently the Florida Panthers for an entire round of playoff hockey. Like, all their weaknesses, all their strengths were just pronounced. And they got some really good goaltending, and that's all they needed.
Well, so they kicked off the game. Montour scores his 4th of the series. He would score again.
Breakout star.
Sam Reinhart gets his 4th of the a minute into the second period, which, as we always talk about, those minute in, minute out goals are such killers. But David Krejci got his first of the playoffs, and the thing is that, you know, Boston really needed a guy like Krejci to score. And so they were down 2-1, but the third period is where it gets interesting because Bertuzzi scores within a minute of that period starting, and then 3 minutes later, it's Pasta. And when David Pastrnak scores, as Leaf fans, you get chills a little bit because you're like, I've been there. I've seen that in Game 7.
And it was just writing itself. And, like, again, I genuinely didn't care who won this game. Genuinely. Like, I said what I said after the Leafs punched their ticket to the second round. Almost said first round. My mouth isn't even used to saying it. Whoever wins will be worthy, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just watching it. I'm just watching Pasta take that gentle hit from Montour up high. Head snaps back like he's a pull toy.
Crazy.
Draws the call and gets the game-tying goal. Like, it was all coming together. And Bruins fans were going to do... I love you, Boston fans. I really do. No one knows how to have fun like you guys. But I was just imagining the scenario. Oh, Pasta had to die. What are you talking about? It's like that TikTok sound about John Gotti. He was the best guy around. What about all the people he murdered? What murder? That's all it is when it comes to any Bruins player in any situation where there's some sort of questionable call or non-call. Mm-hmm. And as soon as they made it 3-2, I thought the Panthers were dead.
And we thought, is Brandon Montour just going to give the game back to the Bruins? He had 2 penalties in a row in the second period.
He was their best player.
Yeah.
Their worst player. He was everything in between.
This was the Brandon Montour coming out party. He was fantastic in the entire series. And also, he had a couple of bad penalties, but he was their best defenseman for this round.
No question.
Steve, you said something very interesting about the Florida Panthers and how they're not going to be outworked. Like, there's some stats to back that up.
Can you hold on to them for the Leaf series, though? because we have a Leafs preview coming.
Sure.
This is just
but
the Boston.
I'm trying to make a Bruins point.
Oh, fair enough.
Trying to make a Bruins point. In that Corey Shinzader, he manually tracks forechecks one. And Carolina.
Are you talking about the person I think you're talking about? I've never once in my life heard it pronounced that way.
How do you pronounce it?
I don't know, but I'm positive that's not right.
How would you say it?
Znader?
Znader?
I don't know.
Znader? Corey Znader.
I could be
manually
wrong as
tracks forechecks and points off of the forecheck. Carolina led the league. Second place, the Florida Panthers. And regular season hockey is not playoff hockey. Pusha T's got a lot. He's like, yesterday's price is not today's price. They are different games.
100%.
And when you got a team who is unbelievable on the forecheck, like the Florida Panthers are, up against a Boston Bruins team who, looking at this series, may have been a very lucky regular season team. And when they get to the playoffs and they have to play this style of game, we might have overrated what the Boston Bruins were doing in the regular season, because when they get to this time of the season, their game doesn't fit that.
Andrew Berkshire was beating that drum months ago that the Bruins were poised for a disappointment. But would anything shy of the Stanley Cup have been a disappointment? They had 65 wins.
Right.
But
how did they get those wins?
Yeah.
What type of game were they playing?
They looked, anytime I looked, they were dominating. So I must have missed something.
So here's what Andrew said in red flags. I texted him about it this morning. He's like, some of the red flags people ignored. Krejci is washed but got wildly lucky all year. Zaka had a massive outlier season. People were like, man, what did New Jersey give up, getting rid of him? And then he said, so down the middle, you got 37-year-old Bergeron, washed Krejci, and someone having a career year who is normally pretty awful. Jesus. And they're one of the oldest teams in the league.
6th overall pick, too, Pavel Zacha.
Yeah. And I think them being one of the oldest teams in the league did show up.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't get Bergeron until Game 5. And I think he was like a -5 or 6 in the series.
Bergeron?
Yeah.
Well, dude,
it wasn't good.
It comes out after he was playing with a herniated disc. As someone who has had that
he tweaked in Montreal.
Times. Yeah.
Game 82.
Game 82.
As someone who has had that exact issue a million times, it's a miracle he was on skates.
So then, obviously, continuing on with the game, Montour scores with exactly a minute left. Sasha Barkov and Verhaeghe get the assists, and then 8 minutes into overtime. What?
When I said Brandon Montour had a breakout season, can I show you what the hell I mean?
Yeah, sure.
This dude, I want to know where this came from. First of all, Montour, I remember with the Sabres, him and Kadri getting into it. I think Kadri was with the Avs when he said this. He said, you're a shitty fucking defenseman on a shitty fucking team.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Hot Mike picked it up.
Wow.
His previous career high in the NHL. So let's isolate it. Just the last 2 years. He's been in the NHL since 16-17. So as long as Matthews, Marner, all that rookie crop. His career high before 2 years ago in goals was 9. His career high in assists prior to 2 years ago was 23. His career high in points was 32. Then he had a bunch of 20, 10. He had his first season in Florida. He didn't do a whole heck of a lot. And then 6 playoff games, zeros across the board. Last year, he had 11 goals, 26 assists for 37 points. So his career high in points goes up 5. This year, 16 goals, 57 assists, 73 points. Even his penalty minutes, for God's sake. He had 48 last year. That was a career high. He had 107.
Wow.
This guy was involved in everything. Where on earth did he come from? We've seen a bunch of these over the last 2 years because scoring is going up league-wide. And there are some players who are clearly crazily thriving in that role. And I mean, that's one of the biggest improvements I've seen across the league.
Huge. And I mean, going back to the Bruins here, you're going into overtime. You've had 65 of 82 wins in the regular season go your way. Mm-hmm. And you've earned a lot of that. I'm not trying to take away from the Bruins here, but the pressure that you have when you set a record in the regular season is crazy. And we did say this in the preview episodes. When you have that kind of a look, the best regular season of all time, the pressure is always going to be on you big time to not fuck it up.
No team in the 4 major sports who has the best regular season record of all time has won the championship.
And when you think about that,
That's
we're
so
talking
dumb.
Tom Brady and the New England Patriots that one year where the first game they lost was the Super Bowl.
Yep.
what was it? What was the Golden State Warriors? 73-9?
It's Steph Curry 73-9, the first Durant Curry year.
And they lost to LeBron.
Yeah.
And, like, you can't even say, oh, those moves they made at the trade deadline, like, screwed up chemistry. Tyler Bertuzzi in 7 games had 5 goals, 5 assists for 10.
No, he was great.
Yeah.
Orlov was great.
incredible.
I thought he saved their ass last night.
Yes!
Like,
yes!
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so, I mean, is it that they didn't get Vezina caliber goaltending? I mean,
We haven't even touched that. Like, how have we not gotten there?
is it enough that your number 1 center is down and your Vezina caliber goalie is no longer playing Vezina caliber hockey? Like, that's enough to lose you a series easily.
100%. They rode Allmark so much all season long. And if Allmark couldn't play 900 goaltending, like, how do you expect to win the series?
Well, and you know, you could look across at Bobrovsky, who is, I think he's riding 880 something in terms of save percentage.
Did
but
he even lose?
Bobrovsky?
Yeah, like, I know Lyon.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They
started
put him
the series.
after game 3.
Okay.
So he played 4 through 7.
So he would have lost 1.
Yeah, he would have lost 1.
Okay.
Game. But
Like-
the move from going from Allmark to Swayman, I think you got to ride the horse. That if you're going for 1 through 6 and then you make that swap again for game 7, I think that's a bad move.
Yeah.
Well, so as Leaf fans, our experienced friend, producer Drew, kept saying the comforting thing, it's a long series. And it's comforting to hear that when you're down 0-1 in the series like the Leafs were. It gets short very fast. So if you're the Bruins and you see Ullmark struggling a bit and you have a chance to win it in 5, are you going to Swayman for game 5? Well, no, because if you lose game 5, you look like a moron. And now you're going to 6, and then what do you do, right? So I guess you could go back to Ullmark, but then what if that doesn't work? And then at the end of the day, ultimately you're the guy who screwed up the vibe and everything. So, okay, go with Ullmark for game 5, and then they lose game 5.
That
Okay,
was the
shit.
moment to go to Swayman.
Well, I don't want to look like I'm panicking, so I'm going to Ullmark again. And now we're going into game 7, and I look like I'm panicking because I am fucking panicking.
Right.
And that third goal was no good.
Yeah.
No.
Both goalies, really.
When was the last game Swayman played? Like, in terms of the date? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, at least.
Which in regular season terms is nothing. In the playoffs, it's forever.
It's forever.
That's forever.
Yep.
That's you could be eliminated or not.
Now you've heard what a bunch of Leaf fans who do pay a lot of attention to the Boston Bruins think.
They were
I
the
thought
benchmark of excellence this season.
absolutely.
How could you not?
It was fascinating to hear Boston Bruins players during the press conferences yesterday say that that they gave it away, and I think they did. I think that's a fair point. So I have 2 questions. Or I have 2 things before we wrap this up. Okay, number 1, Patrice Bergeron. Have we seen the last of him, or do you think, let's give it one more shot?
A back injury is real tough. Who knows if it lasts? I think you can have a plan, and I think you can suffer a devastating enough loss that the plan changes. But the Bruins, I mean, they're going into, I think because of Krejci and Bergeron, both those guys, their deals go into next year.
Yeah, they
have cap penalties
incurred
next year.
Cap
Yeah.
penalties to run this back and try it again.
Yeah, like, so they're designed to not have another crack at this. Like, I don't think they're going to be bad. They're still going to have good goaltending, good
Probably
defense.
re-sign Bertuzzi.
I mean, I would. I definitely would. I would try to re-sign a
Okay.
bunch of the guys they got.
Second thing, Jesse, do you think?
Do
you think-
like this was their opportunity. Next year is going to be fascinating. Producer Drew brought up how the division is now like Buffaloes and the Leafs and all these. Who knows how good Montreal could be with
Bedard.
Connor Bedard? You know, so this was their shot, and next year might be a lot of pain for Bruins fans.
Okay, last question. Are you ready to hear from a Bruins fan?
Oh, sorry. I thought the last question is who are the Leafs going to pick 28th?
No. Yeah, the Leafs do have Boston's first pick. But I want to talk Pete Blackburn. Have a listen to this video. Just listen to his voice. And this is what he posted after Boston last night.
I know that feel.
Yep. Oh my God.
I've been there, Pete.
Every joke that's going to be made is 1,000% deserved. It's humiliating, historically embarrassing.
Is this an impression
This
of me?
went from a season that I was sure that I was going to be proud to remember forever, and now I need to delete every memory of this entire season from my memory. I never want to think about this team ever again. Don't talk to me about them. This is the fucking worst. And the worst part is just they gave the series away. Yes, you got to give credit to the Panthers because they took it, but the Bruins gave it to them. And you can say all you want about the lucky bounce in the last minute of the third period. The Bruins had a great third period in Game 7, but you leave it up to yourself to lose on a lucky bounce when you chunk 3 games and you allow one bounce to dictate and determine the series. So you don't give them credit for that third period. They don't deserve it. First taste of adversity of this season, and they immediately turned into a pumpkin, completely forgot how to play hockey. Just extremely embarrassing. Just everything that they did well during the regular season just went out the window. It's an embarrassing team. It's a horrible look for the entire franchise. My summer's ruined before it even starts.
Know that feel.
Like I said, all the jokes are deserved. Make a mockery. Completely earned. And worst of all, Patrice Bergeron's career might be over. But no, really, really worst of all, the fucking Leafs are in the second round. And now they're going to get the Panthers. They're probably going to kill the Panthers. The Leafs are in the second round.
I don't know about that.
Everything sucks. Whatever. We're all going to die anyway.
Oh, man. Okay, so you're Pete, and you got to get over. I mean, not that the Leafs have ever had the best regular season of all time, but how long is it going to take Pete to get over this?
I hope he has a newfound respect for my gig. That's fucking hard. All right? It's hard to make that video every goddamn year.
You did that for 2 decades.
I did that for a decade and a half. And I'm a little happy this time. And I'm going to fucking savor it because I've made friggin' God knows how many of those videos. Not to make it about me. But no, dude, that sucks. And so Boston has erased this before. They were up 3-0 against the Philadelphia Flyers, blew it. Blew a 3-0 series lead and then a 3-0 lead in Game 7. Blew it. None of us remember it because they won the Cup the next year. Tampa, 2019 with the Blue Jackets. Something similar to what Boston did.
Sergei was in net.
Sergei was in net. He has a niche. Beat the President's Trophy winner, I guess. But when they set the record and blew it against the Blue Jackets, also surrendering a 3-0 lead in Game 1 in humiliating fashion, no one, you remember it, but everyone knows what came after.
No one talks about that. That's not the first byline when you talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning.
And I remember the discussion after Tampa blew it was, how on earth do you run this back? And they did, and they built on it, and they won. There's a few yada yadas in there, like the world stopping and the bubble and all that. But at the end of the day, they had the best hockey team. The Bruins are not in the same position. Their best players are not in their prime like Tampa's. They didn't have guys like Hedman and Stamkos starting the back nine, but still real good.
If anything, Stamkos had that reverse curve where he had a dip in the
Yeah.
middle and now he's up
We
again.
were talking about him like a power play specialist.
Yeah,
and,
well.
Adam was not wrong.
I mean, he was playing third line minutes.
But that we didn't pick up on the trend of scoring going up league wide and the league actually molding itself to be more for Steven Stamkos and not less. And a guy like Braden Point and Anthony Cirelli, the Bruins have some of these horses. McAvoy, that's a guy in his prime. They're not going to be bad, but they're.
But this era might be over. This era might be over.
We hear the term retool way too often. I think they have to retool.
There it
they
is.
still got Pasta. McAvoy.
It's not
good
even like
goaltending.
the Avalanche of yesteryear who sucked so hard that one year, but everyone was like, trust the process because they have all of these guys that are eventually going to be stars. Like the Bruins aren't even in that position.
They had Rantanen. They had McKinnon coming off the worst year of his career and signing what would end up being the best contract in the NHL.
It's such a tough position. For
Can I ask a question? Are we allowed to run the audio of Jack Edwards' call?
I don't think so.
The audio is going to trigger it.
Is the audio going to trigger it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man. Okay, did you guys hear it?
I thought he actually did a pretty good job.
I didn't hate it either. I was like, listen, for a guy that his job is to be the biggest Bruins fan on TV, what else was he going to say? I feel bad for people dunking on him today, and I rarely feel bad for Jack Edwards.
No, Adam, if you were his program director, you would say, you're playing to your base.
Yes.
You're doing things correctly.
Play to your base. Do your thing.
I associate Jack Edwards' voice with so many of the greatest failures of my life. But he's also been nothing but nice to me and seems to be like a rare example of a mainstreamer who sort of has got me from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I just heard him and was like, fuck.
That sucks.
Fuck, man. I would not have handled that as well as he did.
He did a great job, I thought. So a little love for Jack Edwards, although there's going to be a lot of people watching this go, why are you giving him love? And listen, this reaction was really only supposed to be 10 minutes. It's been 20.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Pete Blackburn. Let's wrap it up and let's get to the now, which is round 2, baby.